Have you ever had that feeling that maybe you're not totally in the driver's seat of your own life? From the news you happen to see to the stuff you end up buying, there are these invisible forces kind of nudging you along, shaping your choices and curating your reality. So let's pull back the curtain and take a look at this hidden world. It all starts with something that seems pretty innocent, like this. A video went viral not too long ago showing a couple. They're both looking at the exact same Instagram post on their own phones at the exact same time. But here's the weird part. The comments they were shown were completely different. The top comments on her phone were super supportive of the woman in the video, and on his, mostly critical. Same post, but two totally different conversations. So what is going on there? That's not just some random glitch. It's actually a perfect window into a much, much bigger question. How much of what we see online is being custom built just for us, for an audience of one? And more importantly, what are the consequences of living in a world tailored specifically to you? To really get this, we have to talk about the ghost in the machine, the algorithm. And you gotta understand, these aren't just neutral tools for sorting stuff. Nope, they are incredibly powerful systems, and they're designed with very, very specific goals in mind. This gets us to the idea of embedded values. Every single feed you scroll through is built on a set of priorities. And right now, the top priority is almost always you, as an individual. What will keep you tapping? What will you find entertaining? And what's going to keep you scrolling for just one more minute? Okay, so let's quickly peek under the hood, using Twitter's algorithm as a guide since they made it public. First, the system watches everything you do, every like, every share, every single reply. Then AI models start making predictions. What's the chance you'll reply to this post? How likely are you to share that one? All those little predictions get crunched together into one single score for every piece of content. And then bam, your feed is built, ranks to show you whatever got the highest score for you. But it goes so much deeper than just predicting if you'll click like. This tech is now getting scarily good at understanding and then appealing to your core personality. There's a name for this. It's called psychological targeting. Research has shown that just by looking at your digital footprints, things as simple as your Facebook likes, these algorithms can make incredibly accurate predictions about your personality traits. And once they have a profile on you, they can start tailoring messages designed to persuade you specifically. It basically happens in 3 steps. Step 1, your online behavior is vacuumed up. Liking a page about making people laugh sends a very different signal than liking a page about Stargate. Step 2, the algorithm takes those signals and guesses your psychological traits, like whether you're more of an extrovert or an introvert. And then step 3, the ads and content you see are shaped to match that profile. And this is just a brilliant illustration of how it works in practice. So picture one single beauty product. If the algorithm thinks you're an extrovert, you might see an ad that's loud, social, and all about being the center of attention. But for an introvert, that exact same product might get an ad with a totally different message, something about quiet confidence or subtlety. Same product, 2 completely different psychological hooks. And you might be wondering, does this stuff actually work? Oh, you bet it does. Research from the National Institutes of Health found that campaigns using this kind of psychological targeting got up to 40% more clicks, and even crazier, up to 50% more purchases, compared to ads that were mismatched or just generic. That is not a small difference. It's a huge leap in the power of persuasion. So why is this so effective? Well, because it's not really hacking the computer. It's hacking us. This tech works by tapping into the little glitches and mental shortcuts, the bugs, really, that are already built into our brains. Okay, the first big idea you need to know is the filter bubble. Think of it like your own personal invisible information shield. The algorithm shows you what it thinks you want to see, but the really important part is what it doesn't show you. The things that get filtered out just disappear. You're not even aware that you're not seeing them. And that filter bubble, well, it very often leads you right into an echo chamber. Because the algorithm is designed to show you things you'll agree with and engage with, it just keeps feeding you more of the same. And pretty soon, you're in a space where all you hear are your own opinions and beliefs reflected right back at you, getting stronger and more reinforced with every single scroll. The reason this whole system works so well comes down to a fundamental feature of the human mind: confirmation bias. It's totally natural. We are all wired to look for and believe information that confirms what we already think is true. So what these algorithms have done, really, is automate confirmation bias on a massive global scale. So look, this isn't just about which ads you see or which cat videos pop up in your feed. What happens when you have millions of people all living in their own personalized filter bubbles, bumping into each other in the real world? Well, the effects ripple out and they can create some deep divisions in our society, influencing everything from politics to the actual laws we live by. Now, when we talk about social media and political polarization, we usually have a certain image in our head, right? We're probably picturing younger people glued to their phones. But what if the actual data tells a very, very different story? Yeah, check this out. This is from a study by researchers at Stanford and Brown. They looked at political polarization between 1996 and 2012. And get this, the growth in polarization was actually the lowest for young adults, the 18 to 39 crowd. The biggest jumps were seen in people aged 65 and older, the groups that are the least likely to be using the internet and social media. It kind of suggests that blaming polarization just on the internet is way too simple. And that really shows that these digital algorithms are just one version of this subtle hand of influence. While they do their work with clicks and code, a very similar system has been running for decades in the halls of power, and it's often just as invisible to all of us. For example, let's talk about the shadow lobbyist. So, US law says if you spend more than 20% of your time lobbying, you have to register publicly. But what if you spend, say, 19%? Well, a former high-level official can join a lobbying firm, never register, and just use their connections and insider knowledge to guide strategy from behind the scenes, completely off the books. And research shows just hiring one of these people can boost a firm's revenue by 10 to 20%. It's a huge loophole. So, with all these invisible forces pushing and pulling us, there have definitely been attempts to give us, the regular people, a little more control. But man, the fight for our own digital agency has been a bit of a roller coaster. Let's take a quick look at the story of Do Not Track. I mean, it was such a simple and powerful idea, right? Just a little switch in your browser that tells websites, hey, please don't track me for advertising. It got huge support, even from the FTC, and all the major browsers added the button. But here's the catch. It was totally voluntary for websites to actually listen to it, and most of them didn't. And so it slowly died. Apple and Mozilla have now removed the feature entirely. It was a great idea that just had no teeth. But the failure of Do Not Track wasn't the end of the conversation. In fact, other much stronger regulations have come along that have actually started to shift the balance of power back to us. A great example is the California Consumer Privacy Act, or CCPA. This law doesn't just ask companies to be nice, it gives you real, legally enforceable rights. The right to know exactly what data a business has collected on you, the right to tell them to just delete it, the right to say, no, you can't sell my data, and maybe most important, the right not to be treated worse or charged more for using these other rights. That's real power. Which, brings us all the way back to where we started. As this technology gets better and better at mapping our personalities and exploiting our little mental bugs, that line between persuading us and flat out manipulating us gets really, really blurry. We have some new tools, sure, but the subtle hand of influence is getting smarter and more powerful every single day. And it just leaves you with this one big question. In a world that's been perfectly tailored just for you, are you really the one making the choice?